Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine, the podcast show. As you can see, I have a massive smile on my face, and that is because I've got my co-host, my good friend Craig Stirton, with me. I'm really excited. It's his first time, guys, on the show co-hosting with me. So welcome into the show very nicely. Don't mean in the comments, but welcome to the show, Craig. How are you doing?
Yeah, good in yourself, man. I'm absolutely honored to be on the show tonight. I've been a big fan of what you've done over the last whatever it is, 15 episodes, and yeah, really stoked to finally join the fray.
Yeah. So obviously, the beginning part of this, I like to just have a chat with you and catch up. So we don't really have to go into cricket yet. We'll get into the cricket stories a little later. And as you guys know, also we have some fans that are also going to be joining the show as well at a specific time. I'm going to do one by one. Each one of them will tell us their stories on how they fell in love with the game, etc., etc., etc. But from your side, Craig, how are you doing? You must. I know. I don't know. A lot of people don't know a lot about you. I can mention maybe the fact that you're a big golf fan and as well as a Chelsea Football Club fan, and that's why we can um, have a decent relationship because you're not a Liverpool or City fan.
Yeah, I mean, as anyone that knows you knows that you're a big United fan, and obviously when Liverpool finally sort of got over their jinx and finally got over the line, it must have been a very dark time for you. Seeing them sort of bask in the glory of their first title in however long.
Yeah, and now in a similar position because we finished on the same amount of points last season, and now we come here and you guys are buying everybody that you can put your hands on and what anybody that you see. I'm very jealous of some of the players that you've signed. Some of them are some of my favorite players. For example, Havertz that's coming, and of course, Werner, not Muller, Werner. So yeah, I'm quite jealous about that. But you must be
Yeah,
excited.
but with that comes a lot of pressure for Lampard, because it's sort of like when you sign such big names, it's like sort of expected that you find a way for them to gel together and click, and that you're going to produce the results pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they gel together as a unit, and yeah, whether the investment's actually worthwhile.
Yeah. So, guys, welcome to the show. The guys that have tuned in, just going to catch you up on what we're going to be doing tonight. So, we're basically going to be talking about how we fell in love with cricket. We want to hear your stories as well in the comment section. We're going to have Ravi in the comment section that's also going to be answering your questions and trying to have a conversation with you guys as I add one in the comments. So, if you want to ask any questions to him or you want to ask any questions to us, let us know what you want to say. We did put out a link earlier on our email address. We made it available to you to a few fans to come on the show. The spots are now filled. So we don't have any more spots for anybody available. We're going to try to do this going forward a lot more often. I will be mentioning it on social media. So follow us on Instagram, of course. Follow us on Twitter, etc. All the links are in the description. So let's start this one off, Greg, with how you fell in love with the game. What were your first memories of cricket?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for me, I mean, I do have a sort of partial disability, and with that comes poor eyesight as well. But I grew up in a very sort of sporty household. I mean, between my brother and my dad, I mean, whether it's rugby, cricket, whatever it was, like we were watching it, playing it, whatever. And I mean, for the longest time, he was like, "Oh, Craig, come play cricket in the garden with me, whatever, whatever." And I was like, "No, like I'd rather lamb and watch TV." And then eventually it got to the point where I was like, oh, flip, like I may as well just give it a go and try. And I actually really, really loved it. And then, yeah, I mean, I was probably 7 or 8. And then I think my earliest memory watching cricket was actually the 2005 Ashes series in England. Obviously, I think that was notable because I think McGrath took his 500th wicket. Warne was still doing proper damage, but obviously England went on to win, and I think that was sort of where that love for the game and also I suppose love for Test cricket really sort of came to fruition. And then yeah, I mean obviously that then translated into watching like pretty much any and every Proteas game after that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think in those sort of between the ages of 8 and 13, I mean, if I missed a domestic, or I'm a Cobras fan, but if I missed a domestic game live, I was bleak. Like if I didn't go to the game, I was super bleak. Big fan of actually one of your former podcast guests, I think, or he may have been on the Legends of the Ravi, but Alan Dawson, big fan of his. And Andrew Paddock was also really good in those days. I mean, obviously his longevity was wild, but I mean that's pretty much where it started for me.
Yeah. So for you, it wasn't necessarily about starting off playing the game. It was more watching the game that you really found in love as a fan.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd probably say that watching it came first, and then playing it. Yeah. I mean, I think I started playing a bit of mini cricket in 2006 in grade 3, and then with that came hardball cricket in 2007, which I mean, such a jewel, so much fun.
Yeah.
And yourself, dude, when did you start?
Yeah, for me it's crazy because cricket actually was my first love as a kid. So when I was 2 years old, I first fell in love with the game just because my cousins were playing it. By my grandmother's house, we had like the star outside the house, which was starred right across it, like almost like a pathway to get to the back gate. So you can walk around the house to get to the back side of the house. The bedroom windows were there on the right hand side. If you're facing down bowling, it's on your right hand side. So because I loved the pull shot, and I was so young and the bat was so big, because I didn't have my own bat at that time.
Yeah.
I had to bat left because I couldn't pull, because I would pull into the window. So automatically I started bowling left, and the same with batting left, and the same with bowling, because as you're running down, the wall is on your right hand side. Yeah. So automatically I started bowling left, but also because one of my big heroes as a kid was watching Khocha bowl, Paul Adams.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So because at the beginning stages I was bowling like that with my head down, and I was doing the whole movement. And at first, as a kid, 2 years old, until the moment that I started watching, I think some of my famous words, if you ask my parents, is "cricket bat the ball." That was all I said, is "cricket bat the ball." So, and that's all I wanted to do. I would drive my cousins insane, because my cousins were obviously in their teens, so obviously getting into their middle teens, late teens. So when I was growing up, so obviously they wanted to just play games and just chill and watch wrestling and watch X-Men and etc. That's how I got into those things as well. And then I would come there and visit at the prime time when Raw is on TV, or when WWF is on TV, and I want to play cricket. So you had to get up to record it still when you had cassettes, record it, and then come out and then play with me, with a moodiness on their faces. But they did it. So that was amazing. But if you talk about from my side, Craig, from your side, what was the player that, from the South African point of view, because obviously this is a lot of South African fans that are on our channel we're trying to build here, what was the first player, who was the first player that actually caught your eye and really made you fall in love with the game from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to sound super cliched, but it's got to be Cullis. I mean, just, his all-round ability to keep us in the hunt and keep us in the game. I mean, the number of sort of, I suppose in those early years where I started watching, we were still sort of, I mean, it was still a bit of a transitional phase, and we hadn't really quite reached that dominant phase yet. And I saw him play a lot of sort of match-saving innings and things like that. And just it just looked so effortless the way he batted. I was just in awe. And then it's amazing, how things change. And then sort of 2006, 2007, I started to gravitate towards AB. But also just from the excitement factor. I mean, for me, even as he really started to come into his own as a world-class player, you still, there was always, even if he was well set. There was always that element that he was going to do something stupid and throw his wicket away, like try and take out a shot that wasn't there. That for me, I know it sounds silly, but that for me was quite exciting. That like, okay, is he going to hold it together? Is he going to throw it away? Type of thing. And that was definitely cool to watch. But yeah, and then I mean, I think, yeah, in terms of Cullis, sorry, not in terms of Cullis, in terms of Smith as well. I mean, just his ability to lead from the front, and I mean, classic example is when he came out to bat with a broken hand in the 2008-9 series against Australia. I mean, that still gives me goosebumps thinking about it now, because he didn't need to. We had won the series. Like there was no point, and yet he didn't want to give the Aussies an inch, which was just super, super cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why people get so touchy with everything that's happening at the moment, is that because he was such a massive figure for everybody, someone that everybody looked up to, and it's kind of tough. So I guess for me it was Jonty Rhodes. I remember watching him. Okay, I was very young, about 4 or 5 years old when I first saw him play, and obviously, in South Africa, everything goes. They try to franchise things or try to blow things up by doing a lot of promotional things. And there was a special going around at Macro, I think it was at the time, where they gave you full kits. Basically, you'll get the bat and you'll get a signed bat by Jonty Rhodes, for example, where it's obviously not signed by him in ink, but obviously they printed the signature on the bat, on the sticker. So my parents kind of got me that you get wickets with it, like those plastic wickets with it, and a ball with it. So that was like my first ever like bat and kit, and I slept with a bat. Seriously, like I slept with a bat. I played I used to take that whole kit with me every single time I went to my cousin's house. So every single time they walk in and they see that, you can imagine the rolling back eyes that you'll get. So it's quite phenomenal that you actually see those type of things. Obviously, I loved his fielding as well. That was quite amazing. But from that perspective, I think that Jonty it was first, and then obviously the reason why I fell out of love with cricket is because, and I don't think a lot of people know this about me, but there was a period when I left and I went to Holland, and I lived there for 2 years when I was 7, 8 years old. So I loved cricket here, moved over, and there wasn't much cricket over there. So for me, I had to fall in love with other sports, and that's where my love for soccer and football started, because obviously the Netherlands was a massive team. I remember crying, like when everybody else was crying in the 1999 World Cup for cricket to South Africa. I was crying because the Holland fell out of the Euros. I'll never forget that 2000. Like it was insane. Like the experience for me as a kid to see how the Dutch are so passionate about football. They used to paint their grass orange, their houses orange for that period.
That's sick.
It was insane. So cool. I was like, it was completely insane. But Craig, before we go on, let's get our first guest on the show. I think this is this will be nice and interesting, because we've got someone that is a Proteas fan but lives all the way in the USA. So it's quite an interesting story. So let's get him on the show. We've got over here Abai. How are you doing?
Good morning, legends. How's everybody doing?
All right,
doing great here.
Hey.
All right, so how did I first get started in cricket? So I think it was 2004 when I watched my first cricket. I was in India, so I think it was a test series between India and Pakistan. So that's what really kicked things off.
So what was it about? Because obviously, how did you manage to watch the game? That is my concern, because I'm thinking now, you're obviously in the USA, you don't get to go to live matches. Like me and Craig, obviously living in South Africa, we can go to Newlands. We can walk down to Newlands and go watch cricket live on TV. Our school sports, they play school cricket at school as well. For you, like, how did you become so fascinated with the game? Like, what drew you to it, and how did you discover it?
Well, actually, like, I made a lot of frequent trips to India, so that's where I watched a lot of my cricket. But I think these days I mostly watch highlights if it's not at a good time. So usually, like, the stuff I watch is if it's in the West Indies or Australia or New Zealand, that's what usually works best for me. So but if the Proteas are playing at home, I normally catch the highlights, or if I really feel like staying up late, then I watch it.
Craig, you have any questions for Abadi?
No, I was going to say that those sort of like late night / early morning games are often the best to watch. I mean, for us, like watching a game in New Zealand, which starts at like midnight, is epic.
Yeah.
I think New Zealand is 18 or 19 hours ahead of me. I can't remember, but yeah. So most of the test matches start in the late afternoon over here, so it works out perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's epic.
That's epic. Yeah. For us, like for example, when we're playing on Australia, I remember me and Craig actually covered the Australia game together at that time. It was quite intense. But Abhay, I wanted to ask you a player that's really stood out to you first from the Proteas side. Who was the player that jumped out to you and you thought, wow?
Well, 2007 World Cup, AB de Villiers. Actually, I watched the group stage game against Australia, I believe. They scored around 370 odd in 50 overs, and the opening partnership for the Proteas was really strong. I thought maybe they could do it, but I think it was that run out that slowly started to unravel the innings. So yeah, that was my first favorite moment.
Yeah. Well, what is it about AB for you that you really think, wow?
I'd probably have to say his creativity. Like, he's a very good player all around the field. So Mr. 360 record speaks for itself.
Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to it earlier, but that that sort of like which AB is going to rock up on the day. I always found quite exciting. But obviously, sort of as he matured, he really became sort of Mr. Dependable. I mean, look no further than that pink day where he and Umna opened the innings. I mean, no, sorry, obviously they didn't open together, but I think we lost an early wicket or whatever, and he came in, and yeah, it was wild to watch. I hope I've got my facts right there, Khalid.
Doesn't matter if you don't. Let the fans correct you in the comment section. I like it.
Yeah,
when
no,
the
I'm
fans do those
sure
things.
they'll do that. I actually do know the answer. I just sort of baited you guys into getting involved in the comments, actually. But yeah, I mean, just I mean, he's so destructive. It's an absolute pleasure to watch.
I'd also say I started liking South Africa even more and more when I watched the Champions League T20. The Cape Cobras were very good. I think in 2009. And
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Lions and Titans in 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. So for you to keep up with domestic cricket must be quite tough. How do you? But you said you watch highlights, but there's not so many highlights anymore with regards to that. How do you keep up to date with everything? Like, and have you interviewed some cricketers? Obviously, you've interviewed some cricketers for us, for Cricket Fanatics Mag. What was your favorite interview so far? Would you say?
Oh, that's a pretty tough question. Like, I think like whenever you talk to different players, there's something to learn about each one of them. But if I were forced into a corner, I'd probably have to say Grant Rulifson, because it was his rookie season and he did so well in both the 50 over competition and in the 4-day competition.
Okay, awesome. So thank you, Abhay. I'm sorry that we have to cut it short because we have a lot of other fans that are on the show waiting to come into the studio. Thanks a lot for coming on, and we'll get you again on next week or in the week after, whenever you have an opportunity to come on.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, dude.
So, Craig, I'm going to bring on the next guest right now. We've got Dev Gavanji waiting for us. I think this is going to be an interesting one. We had a chat with him on Ravi's Legends with Ravi as well. But I think this will be a different type of thing because I never got to ask him these questions. So let me just bring him into the stream. Hello, Dev.
Hey, hi, Khalid. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, so basically the main question that we're going to be asking is how did you fall in love with the game? So obviously you will have amazing stories for us.
Oh, well, that goes back a long way and a long time. It's if you're born into a house that where sport is is an important component, then it becomes a part of you. And I think what we also have to remember, at the time when we were young, there weren't many other activities open to us. And fortunately, if you had sport at home, then I think you should consider yourself one of the privileged, because I was born into a home where my dad was a big cricket lover and played a lot of tennis. So there was always sport at home, either talking about it or going out and playing it. So as a youngster, you tagged along, and then you just took to the game. And strangely enough, tennis was my first love. And my dad always thought that that's where I should be heading. But in nowadays, there was not much to play for. You played provincial, and beyond that, there were no incentives. So come cricket season, you play cricket. Come soccer season, you're playing soccer. And naturally, once I got a bit bored, even at a very young age of not reaching any further sort of in tennis, there wasn't too much more to do play once you played provincial and attended national tournaments. I seemed to enjoy the team sports more. And then we just followed cricket fanatically, as you know, the little radios wherever we go, and listening to commentary at odd hours, and then made all the heroes that we made over the years. And as far as I'm concerned, I was a fanatic. I have autograph books filled with all codes of sport. You'd be surprised if you talk about cycling. I've got cyclists. If you talk about athletics, I've got athletes. I've got the 1956 French rugby team, where I couldn't make out a single name, but I've got the whole team in my autograph. So I ran around, stood around, and I collected autographs. Cut out pictures of people and hunted them down and got them to sign next to the picture. Whether it was Jackie McGlew or Roy McLean or whoever our heroes were of that particular era, we went around. I was a big rugby follower from small, because we attended schools where rugby was not played but was followed. As you know, our schools didn't have too much when it came to facilities.
Yeah, of course, and that's something that maybe me and Craig can look at, because obviously we grew up with TV, etc., watching it on TV.
Yeah.
For you to keep the love of the game, I mean, how do you manage to do that without those distractions?
Yeah, that was the challenge. But as I said, we were fortunate, and the streets belonged to us. So as soon as the streets were empty at a late afternoon, out you went with your drums and your crates and a tennis ball or whatever you could find, and the games went on. And I think that was amazing. That always, to me, if we can get our streets back, then we'll get children out into the streets, and they'll start playing and enjoying not only the sport, but they'll enjoy the camaraderie of a neighborhood. We don't have neighborhoods anymore, because everybody's locked in at home and too afraid to be out there playing where they should be playing.
Yeah, Craig, I mean, for you, you can ask a question. I mean, before
Yeah,
we
yeah.
go into the next case.
So I was going to say, did you sort of find that, the camaraderie that you experienced when playing cricket was a lot more enjoyable and things like that than playing tennis? Because obviously, it's very much sort of one-on-one or whatever, and you're very much sort of out there to beat whoever's on the other side of the net. Whereas with cricket, it's very much a collective kind of effort.
Yes, I also think that if you're gregarious by nature, then you want to be in a team environment.
Yes.
And tennis, like golf or athletics, becomes a lonely sport because you've got to practice with whoever you can, and whereas cricket, you look forward not only to the game, but you look forward to catching up with your mates, and that was important. And the post game getting together in each other's dressing rooms, etc. Not much of that happens these days, because it's become so professional. And pity, because the camaraderie is what you're going to remember at the end of the day. I don't remember
100%.
too many of the games I played, but I do remember all the people I played against.
Yeah, exactly.
So with regards to, obviously, you've been a fan for quite some time, it's obviously that we want to talk about comparisons between who are the greats of the game that you witnessed play, etc. We obviously have different generations that we can talk about. Like, for example, we would, like, as youngsters and generationals like we are, and obviously we millennials, we want to know, like, who was the AB de Villiers of that time, or who was the Hashim Hamla of that time, or etc., or Dale Steyn of that time that you witnessed, and you were just like fell in love with him for the sake of the game.
Yeah, look, maybe I should start by the fact that I get very irritated on Twitter and on these platforms where people are forever comparing people, you know. Enjoy a Tendulkar and enjoy a Kohli, enjoy a Babar Azam. Why do you always have to compare people? Different times. I mean, you can't picture, you can't even predict what Bradman would have done in the modern game. How could we? So those who were fortunate to watch Bradman, or I would have loved to watch Sobers, we were denied that. Okay, but take them for what they have brought to the game and enjoy them. They're forever comparing people. But what I'd like to do is to say, in my time, these were the players who I admired, you know, and I'd like to speak about the non-racial players because they're the forgotten players. So today I tweeted something about the wicket keepers, because I had a picture on Twitter with Chicken Bamji standing with Khalid Chotia, and in the middle was a West Indian, but nobody could recognize the West Indian because he was relatively unknown, and yet we had the West Indians coming out here at that time, and we had Kanai playing for Transvaal, Keith Barker playing for Natal, and we were fortunate in Port Elizabeth to have a chap called Duncan Carter. So he appeared in this particular picture. And John Holder played for Western Province. So during that era, you know, then the names of Yaqub Omar comes about, Hussein Ayub, whose book I'm reading at the moment, a classy, thinking opening bowler who was a student of the game. His partner on the other side, Charlie Chotia. Those are the people, you know, I'd like to talk about. In Western Province, you had Saeed Majid, you had Kuti Neethling before that, Owen Williams. And these are the names. Otherwise, we keep going back to the known players, because in South Africa, those were the people who were household names. So let's not go to Pollock and to Barry Richards and to them. We all know about them. What I'd like to do is expose our listeners, expose our viewers to people who you might have loved to see. There was not only a Basil D'Oliveira, you know, there were many others who would have done as well as him, and he would be the first. I was listening to Omar Henry the other day on your program, and he was the first to admit that there were people who were better than him, you know, and should have played. And we know who they are. We had a left arm spinners club at that stage in each province, and we competed with each other because there wasn't too much else to compete for. So we kept ourselves motivated by trying to compare ourselves to those we saw and those we played with, rather than those who we only heard about and could not really see.
So Dev, obviously, you know that I'm going to contact you because I want to have a show where we dedicate it just about those players and remembering the greats. I'm going to speak to Ravi as well about it, and we're going to get you on board again with a couple of panelists. You can get your friends together and we can have a mass video call with regards to this, and I would love to do that. But thank you a lot.
Look forward to that.
But thank you a lot for coming on the show and just sharing your stories. We will definitely chat to you again soon.
Pleasure, Khalid. Lovely to see you, Craig. Take care.
Thanks, you. So, Craig, I'm going to give you the next question first, because I see that you're not asking first up. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask the first question to our next guest. We have Jessica waiting in the back end over here, and it's first time on the platform for her. So I'm really excited to obviously hear what she has to say. So welcome to the show, Jessica, if you are there.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Can you see us?
Yeah, we can see you. Oh, okay. If you want to both be on, then I'll make it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
So first, Jessica, who's with you?
This is my sister, Janine, twin sisters, Mr. We are twins.
Okay, cool.
So,
awesome.
She was feeling a bit of FOMO, so she thought she should join as well.
No, that's epic. The more the merrier, huh?
Yes.
So, Craig, over to you. I'm going to let Craig ask the first question this time. So I've been asking him first up the entire show.
So I'm going to sort of go somewhere different to what Khalid has asked first up, but Jessica, how did like who were the players you looked up to when you were growing up and when you started following the game? Like who sort of caught your eye from a talent standpoint?
That's actually a really good question. I think it was more a bunch of players more than just one. So I would definitely say, Herschel Gibbs, Mackay and TV, Smith and Boucher, just that whole team. I think we really worked quite closely with that team that we got to know in our time when we became aware of the game and stuff. Yeah, so that's basically that answer.
Yeah, and obviously the obviously it's Women's Month this month. So I mean, if we sort of look at the female game, I mean, is there anyone that you enjoy watching on TV? I mean, obviously it's a really, really good time for women's cricket at the moment in South Africa. They've really come a long way. Is there anyone that you particularly enjoy watching in the women's game?
Yeah, I also, once again, I don't have specific, but I know Chloe, she's also quite, I think she's really good in the game. You can't even imagine, imagine what's that girl. But I'm not too familiar actually with the female team, I'll be honest. I do follow their games and stuff like that, but I haven't really, gotten to know them by name, but
sure.
I do that.
So obviously we're going to have a lot of shows on this channel to educate you guys about it. There are a couple of girls that we've interviewed and women players that we've interviewed on the lockdown series. So when you guys have opportunity, obviously I'm going to punt my show to you. So so you guys can go to the playlist on our channel and go catch up and binge watch everything. But what I wanted to ask you is, how did you get into, or both of you, and let's have your sister also answer a few questions. How did you guys get introduced to cricket? What was it that made you guys start to watch it and become fans?
So actually, basically, like you said earlier, you mentioned about starting in your childhood, so you played a lot. So we were more the watching in our childhood, and it started with our grandmother. So she was the avid fan in the house and stuff like that. So we'd always join her in the room to shout, and our parents were always just like, just go shout there by grandma, please, because you can't shout here in the living room because it's, so we grew very passionate about the game because of her. She explained to us the basics and stuff like that, so we could understand. So now we're growing old and understanding, there's more the technical stuff. Yes, definitely. And so she'd always check in with us, guys, she'll phone, she'll ask, are you watching the game? Are you watching the cricket? We're like, yes, mom, watching the cricket. Or no, was a little bit busy with studies and stuff that also got in the way. But since then, our dream was also to watch a live match at Newlands, which we have not been able to achieve. But we know it will happen through time. But we were able to attend, I think, 2 live matches. The first one was in October of 2018, yes. So that was the One Day Momentum Cup. We played against Zimbabwe, yes. Zimbabwe. So that was at Worland Park. So that was super awesome. Yeah. And then the second one, the second game we could go watch live was the ODIs that we played against Australia. Yeah. I think it's February this year. Yes, the beginning of this year. So that was like our highlight of the year before this year took a turn for the worst. And but just a simple shout out, I don't know if she's watching though, but Amara, she was actually quite instrumental in getting us tickets to that match. So we just basically sorted out our transport and stuff like that. So but she knows the whole situation there, but we were very thankful for that opportunity because it's stuck out the most for us for that day. I don't want to go into too much detail, but
you can. This is your turn. This is your time to shine. You can say as much as you want.
Okay. But yeah, like we said, when we got back from the match, when we got home that night, like we literally couldn't even sleep. We were just like thinking about everything, and we were just like, yo, it was crazy, like being in that vibe and just everybody and the seeing the players like live, like it's not like on TV or So I think that was also very profound for us as well. Like we hype things up. Like we always said, people are like niks gewoon. But it was a very nice experience. And and I have to mention that we also religious followers of IPL. So SRH fan over here is CSK fan, so there's a little bit of rivalry as well. But I think it's good. But I think I've shared quite sufficient there though. So
Yeah.
I do hope to. Yeah.
Geez, have you guys heard that like I think 10 of the CSK players and management have been diagnosed with COVID? Just random on a random side note.
You're gonna have to play 13-year-olds.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're gonna do for IPL season. So I don't know if they're gonna participate. We'll see. We'll have to see. Yeah.
Because what I wanted to say is before I punt again. So basically, we have a lot of competitions on the show where you guys can win tickets to the show. So just keep an eye out for those type of things to go to live games, etc. Especially MSL and Test cricket, ODI cricket, etc., etc. Hopefully, we can do that again when cricket goes live again. But what I want to ask you about the rivalry thing. So we know that in certain situations, like obviously with football, it's easier to have like teams. But because you are both Proteas fans, of course. Do you guys maybe have a rivalry with picking different players? Because I know I met two sisters before. The one was a JP Dumini fan, the one was an AB de Villiers fan, and the one just wanted AB to go out, another one wanted JP to go out, just to fight each other and have a kind of a rivalry to see whose player does better. Are you guys do you differ on favorite Proteas players in the current side, or do you guys basically?
I think we like the same players. I think we're not too much bothered about things. As long as they do the best that they do.
Play well.
So I don't think we have rivalry against specific of the players in the team. So just more the actual different teams. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we like the same people.
Like also what you mentioned about football.
So she's currently a Barcelona fan and I'm a Man City fan. So City fan. So with Messi going into City. I know there's a cricket platform. I know. I'm sorry, but
no, it's fine. There's a reason why I'm lowering my head. There's a reason why I'm lowering my head, but I'll explain afterwards.
Yeah.
So you're obviously happy with maybe Man City, with maybe Leo going to City. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
She doesn't want him there though.
I don't want him there.
That's great, actually. That's a great idea. The reason I brought my head is because I don't like either teams. I'm a Man United fan, so I hate Barcelona and I hate City. So it's a bit of a problem.
Hate's a very strong word, bro. Yes.
No, that's
No, it's fine. I respect both sides, though. It's a bit of a problem because I have to look at Manchester City and kind of be like, there's some players that are in that team, and the next guest that's going to come on the show is a United fan like me. So she's going to probably give me some flack for saying this, but there's some players in the City side that I do like, and I would like to see United colours. But there were some players that got stolen from United basically out on the last minute. That's so.
Okay.
This rivalry.
Okay.
But let's aside of. I was going to ask you one more cricket question before we say bye to you guys. We'd love you to come on the show in the future again, so you can maybe talk again a lot more.
Okay.
But is there any signatures or any players that you've met, and what was that experience like?
I don't think we didn't get that far though. No. So
Probably just saw Natalie Jemana's walk in the distance, but that's the closest we're gonna get.
We didn't meet any players, which I think is quite sad. It's quite sad.
But we should definitely.
That's our bucket list. It's going on our bucket list.
Khalid, maybe you can organize, bro.
We'll see what we can do for you guys. Maybe we can do something for you down the line. We want to do a lot of things with players where the fans can try to meet them, but I'm not going to promise anything unless I have to first sort it out. So
Yeah. Definitely.
Thanks a lot to the both of you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us your stories. Tell your friends to share this, obviously. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and all of those things.
Shameless self-promotion.
There's a link in our description over there to subscribe to the magazine. We have a digital magazine that we launched 3 months ago. So you guys can go have a check, and then maybe you can share it out to your friends. But thank you a lot for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Okay, so Craig, you need to back me when I'm doing my promotions here. Don't put your eyes back.
No, but I find it the most difficult part because obviously, most of the people that are watching this don't know, but I've also got my own podcast, and it's like that sort of self-promotion part is always a bit tricky. Like how to
Yeah.
go about it and not come across poorly.
Yeah,
But you
so
did
that's-
well, bro.
So no, that's why I have AIDS. So guys, if you want to download the latest issue of the magazine, here's the link on the screen. And also there's a link in the description if you want to download the latest issue. So without further ado, let's bring on the next guest, Emily Norris. Now this one I'm really excited about. Someone you guys might be a little bit familiar from
Familiar with, I think, is the word you're
familiar
looking
with
for.
is the one I'm looking for. So familiar with, you obviously saw her in our birthday special when she came on. She told us stories about how she has come on to Cricket Fanatics magazine and how she's been doing a lot of videography things for us down the line. When obviously she can only really work when there's cricket actually happening. So COVID kind of stopped the opportunities to be able to create a lot of content for us. But I'm really excited to catch up with her. So Emily, welcome to the show. Good to see you again.
Hi,
Hey,
Khalid.
Emily.
Hi, Craig. How are you
How's it?
doing?
All right, and
Now,
you?
Yeah, good thanks. Good thanks.
Yeah, so Emily, let's start off with the first question, and that is your introduction to cricket. To give people some background about Emily. Emily actually plays the game as well, and she's trying to become an umpire, or she's an umpire, and she's aspiring umpire as well. So just give us your insight in how you became a cricket fan first and foremost, and how you got introduced to the game.
Yeah, it's quite weird actually because like my dad and my grandfather, they were golf crazy. Craig, you'll like that, but they were absolutely like golf fanatics. So it was interesting because they played the game, but they played it for fun. They played like E teams, D teams. It wasn't really, they didn't take it seriously. But my dad enjoyed watching the game though. That's what he enjoyed doing. So I think that's how I was introduced into the game. I started just watching with my dad. He would be watching and I sort of would go look at what he was watching and just start watching with him. And I think I started maybe when I was in grade 5 or 6 watching the game, and then started playing in grade 7. But yeah, the 48 game definitely was a big impact in me starting to like watch the game and enjoy the game, seeing what they did and like how they chased. And I was like, this is such a cool game. Like I really want to be able to do that too and be involved in like match winning innings and those types of things. So yeah, I think that's how it started for me. But I started watching it before I started playing it. So yeah.
That glide down to third man that Micaiah played was the most
I was gonna
valuable run
say,
he scored in his
yeah.
career. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
So
I was
sick.
gonna say when you guys are asking the other fans about like their favorite players or like their favorite moments, I was gonna say that one run by Micaiah and Dini must be like the gold
100%.
in all of the moments that I remember. Yeah. So, yeah.
So sick.
Yeah, so for you, with regards to playing the game, I mean, we know a lot of we spoke about some people who play street cricket, etc., to get into cricket, or I gave my story basically of playing in the backyard. Craig gave his story about playing mini cricket. For you, what was your introduction? How does a young girl get into cricket, especially in South Africa, where it's such a male-dominated sport, and we're trying to get more women into the game? As you can see, we're trying to do a lot of podcasts and interviews on the show to try to promote women's cricket. So how did you get into the game?
So my dad used to. So after I started watching the game with him, I asked him to buy me like those little mini cricket set vibes, with like the plastic bats and stumps and stuff. So like I asked him to like buy me one of those, and he would just throw it to me. So we would just start in the backyard, just throwing cricket balls, or not cricket balls, but tennis balls, just throwing those to me. And then we would actually play in my road. There were like a few kids in the area that would actually play. And when we went away, we'd like also have people there, and we'd actually get up at the bin and everything. So that was cool, like that we could still play in the street. Because I know like a lot of kids don't do that anymore, but that was pretty cool. And then from there on, I was grade 7, got to high school, grade 8. Luckily, my school had it for girls. It was pretty new, but they had it. So I started playing there, playing school cricket there. And then I think it was when I was in grade 8 or 9, I'm not sure, but the Western Province Trials, they had that for the girls. So I went to that. Basically just went on from there. So like playing wherever I could play. But luckily I did have opportunities to play in like the schools that I went to. So yeah, that was nice.
Epic. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
I think
questions.
I think
No,
I
I was
don't know.
going to
I think I
say.
got lucky in. Sorry, yeah. I was going to say I think I got lucky in like sort of coming in when it started to like actually have it in schools, because like I kind of was at the in the right place at the right time kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that was nice. Yeah, yeah.
So it was actually, this is a question for both of you. Did you guys also find that like when you first started playing, like playing leg side shots came so much more naturally than offside? Like playing pulls and like leg glances and stuff, so much more chilled.
Yeah. Like I said, for
I don't
me,
know
it was
about
pull shot was my favorite shot, obviously. So all I did all day was try to pull the ball.
Yeah.
it's actually weird because like mine was completely opposite to that. Hey, like I know for a lot of like they say for a lot of females that the leg side shot is easy because I like to play across the line, so they just kind of play leg side. But for me, my favorite shot is still was and still is offside drop. I think it's because I had coaching from quite young when I started. So like I kind of as I started, I kind of went for coaching, and that's like the shot they sort of taught me first. That and straight drive, So that still is my favorite shot. And I haven't actually been that strong on the leg side until like I've started like learning it more recently, but I was never really strong there, which is quite strange. But yeah.
So I mean, we obviously went to UCT together. I mean, what do they have in the way of sort of women's cricket, if anything?
Yeah, people ask me that quite a bit. They don't. So they have men's cricket, but they don't have any female cricket at UCT. So someone actually asked me, once you started, but I never did, and like I didn't know, obviously didn't know who would be interested in it and stuff. But they don't have it there, so I would have to like I played club cricket. Would have to find clubs to play at, and kind of it's a struggle in women's cricket because like there's like if there's clubs that are close to you, but like you can't, you don't necessarily fit into those clubs and stuff. So finding a club to play at is quite difficult. But luckily I've been able to play like in club cricket for quite a while. So yeah.
I mean, what do you Hey? Yeah, no, that's but it's also it's a tricky one because like I mean if there's not massive interest, like I mean would varsities necessarily try and start something? It's tricky because like how many numbers sort of justify sort of starting something, do you think?
Yeah, I mean I don't even know, but I think it's interesting because there's a lot more interest in football. Like there are a few female like football teams. Like there's a few, I think there's about 4 or something. But so there's more interest in like soccer than there is in cricket, which I also find quite interesting. But I only knew one. It was me and another girl that I knew that I played club cricket with that were at UCT and wanted to play the game. So I mean you have 2 people. So
and then I mean what club do you play for now, and how often do you get to practice, and what does it look like under COVID?
Currently playing for Portsmouth Cricket Club. So we haven't obviously had like practice in forever. We aren't allowed to practice yet. So we've just been like I've just been trying to like do fitness and sort of do the odd like backyard kind of hitting the ball. But I know now that you're allowed to do like one-on-one coaching and small group coaching now. So gonna try and start like going to nets and maybe getting a coach again just to like get the basics down again and stuff. So
that's very cool.
From that perspective, how do you think we can improve it? So obviously as not only the media, but as fans, how can we improve the game, the women's game especially? I know that you saw when you came with us to our KFC mini cricket festival, you saw that how amazing that can be for young girls, and the opportunity where we saw some Proteas women actually playing with those kids, etc. And that was quite interesting. But from your perspective, what do you think that the fans can do, and a media company like us, how can we do to improve it?
Yeah, from fans' perspective, go watch the females play. Like I think that's the most important thing. And I mean it's often free, so like you don't even really have to pay. Just go support them. I mean there's often the misconception that like females are sort of like the weaker side, or the you want to go watch them before the men or something. Like, you know, you only want to go watch them if like you're going to be watching the men after or something like that. But I think they're just as like important and deserve to also be supported and watched and stuff. So yeah, I'll go watch them whenever you can. Like I try and watch if I'm not playing, try and watch go and watch a game, even if it's like a club game or something. And I think from like media point of view, promoting like female cricket, which I think you guys are doing pretty well, Khalid. So just giving like females the opportunity to just speak about the game, you know, and speak about the experiences of the game. And yeah, and like to sort of just show that we aren't like less, and you know, we can also play the game too. Just even though like it's a gentleman's game, you know, but we can play it too. So yeah, I think just promoting it and sort of getting that out there, and
Yeah, that's a term that we need to actually kind of like get away from.
Do away
because-
with, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of fell in love with the women's game by almost by accident in a way. So when I came into cricket, we had opportunities, myself and Craig as well, to do a lot of match reports, etc. on the women's game. And I sat down and I watched the game and I was like, but these girls are playing with such high intensity, such high passion.
yeah,
They're not good.
Yeah.
So then I started taking interest into the younger generation. And actually, in fact, we were the first time ever that I did a future star on a female player, and it was never done before that. And I saw her play in the nets, and I was just like, Andrew Klobera is her name. And I watched her play, and it blew my mind completely at the intensity, the effort that she puts in. She's not getting paid a cent. Whereas semi-pro cricketers, males and franchise cricketers are getting paid for play the game. So they kind of have some incentive to play. These girls are turning up early to practice, practicing extra after practice, asking questions, so passionate about the game. I never saw so much passion that comes through. And I think that fans will also see that when they watch a game and watch our women's team, because currently they are outperforming the men's team at the moment. They playing some brilliant cricket.
Dude, I mean, as Khalid, as you alluded to, like we were both lucky and fortunate to cover quite a bit of women's cricket a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, from my side, I mean, I was so bleak when we got through to the semis of the 2017 World Cup and lost to Australia. I mean, that was quite a chaotic day as well, because I think there was also the men were playing a test against England. Or whatever and there were games going on simultaneously and we were covering both at once, and it was like we had to watch the men's game, but like I mean, for me, I was actually super keen to sort of switch between channels and actually, I mean, for me, like
we were celebrating.
It was cheapness. But I mean, like for me, like someone like Laura Wolfhard, absolute joy to watch. I mean, I could watch her back all day.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
so
like,
good.
I mean, there's not a lot of players that played better than, you know, Laura Wolfhard and Virat Kohli probably, but I mean, like, she's one of the best in the game, and like, I think it's important, like for, I think Khalid, you were saying this, like the younger players, just to show them like the women that, you know, there's a future in cricket. You know, there is an opportunity to play the game. Like, don't give up because like you think, you know, I'm a female, like there's going to be, you know, no opportunity for me. There is like opportunities, like the game's growing. And yeah, okay, it might be growing slower in South Africa, but it's definitely growing. So yeah, I don't know, like if the young players just watch these up and coming players as well as like the Proteas women, if they watch them closely, they'll see that like there definitely is opportunities. And I mean, like Nadine now just got signed for the women's BBL. So I mean, look at that. Like her career is pretty new. Like she's been playing for the Proteas like for not that long, but look what she achieved. So it's definitely possible. Yeah.
We did a video on that in our playlist of the Daily Show, guys. So Ib, I'm gonna end off by one more question before we say bye to you. Your favorite player currently, male and female?
Oh, that's a tough one.
This is maybe we should make it Proteas so that it's a little bit that will make it a bit easier.
Okay, Proteas first. Okay, but now you're not giving me batsmen or bowlers. Now I must choose. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Okay. Pick a batsman
I
and a
think-
bowler for both.
Okay. I think I'm gonna have to go with Marizanne Cup as a bowler, even though she's sort of been
all-rounder.
playing the game. And she's an all-rounder too. But her bowling is phenomenal. So her for that, and then Laura, of course, Laura Wolfhard for batsman. And then for the men, does it have to be approaches player?
Batter, I
or-
think, is the term apparently. Batter, we can't say batsman. It's batter.
Batter,
Yeah.
sorry. Batwoman, batter.
Yeah, I don't know what we need to make sure what the actual term is. We were told that we need to write
Yeah.
better. So
I think, definitely. Let's keep it. Let's keep it both. I think. So it's South African player, right? Approaches.
you can okay. If it's too
I'm
hard,
gonna
you
go-
can throw in a few internationals.
Okay, bowler. I'm gonna go with my boy Lingi Ngidi. He's definitely he's got some really good pace on him. So I'm gonna go with Lingi, and then batsman. Batter. This is tough. I think I would go with Quinton just because of his ability to bat anywhere. He's shown that he can bat. I mean, obviously, I think he's better at the top, but I mean, he can bat 7, he can bat 1, 2, 3, and he's a brilliant keeper on top of that. So I definitely think Quinton, and just the intensity that he plays with, he's always looking to just play his shots. And I mean, even if the team is in struggle and in a bad position, he'll come in and he'll play his game. So I definitely think Quinton, he seems fearless. So yeah, Quinton.
Craig, anything you want to ask before we say cheers to Emily? And I don't think I've ever used the word cheers on the channel yet. Yeah, so I feel like I'm 50.
Better late
I
than
think-
never, Brett. But I mean, you are sort of
Oh, come on.
Closer to 50 than
Continue the
most.
conversation. Continue with the question.
No, so Emily, I was going to say, I mean, what would you like to see from us in terms of content covering the women's BBL during the tournament?
Thanks, Craig, for giving me extra
Everything.
work.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No worries. I'll share the load with you, Brett. Fine.
The performances of the players, obviously,
Yeah.
but I don't know specifically what, but just covering how each player is doing, the youngsters or the people that have just started, because I know there's players that have been playing for a few seasons, and some have sort of switched clubs as well, or switched teams as well.
Yeah.
So just sort of covering how they're doing and how they're sort of easing in, or if they've been there for a while, what they're doing well, what they aren't, sort of thing. But and I think also, I don't know if you can do this, but looking at the umpires as well, saying something about the umpires, because I know that female umpiring isn't a big thing, and it's not seen as a sort of a job or an opportunity for women, because I know that there's a lot of, I mean, you might not necessarily want to play the game, but you want to be involved in the game somehow, and I mean, there's options for match referee or umpire or things like that.
Yeah.
So I know that Lauren Achenbach, she's South African umpire, and she's pretty high up. She inspired me. So I think just sort of also getting out there and promoting female umpires as well would be cool to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's epic. Cool.
Awesome, Emily. Thank you a lot for joining
Cool.
the show.
Thanks.
I'm really excited to have you on future episodes as well. It was really nice to talk to you and catch up. And I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks, man.
Cool. Thanks, Khalid. Bye, Craig.
Cheers. Cheers.
So, Craig, great to talk to fans. I mean, something that we haven't done a fan cam in forever. So when there is cricket once again, obviously we're gonna be outside the stadium and do fan cams, etc.
Dude, you're presuming that they actually let us or let fans in.
Yeah,
the
like I'm
games.
talking about when we, when cricket does happen again. I wonder when that is going to be. I know that the Cobra, the franchises are training again, training hard again. So that's interesting to see. We're gonna do a few podcasts maybe down the line to talk about those type of things. I'm going to try
Yeah,
to
100%.
tomorrow, guys. Tune in. We're going to be speaking to Eddie Moore tomorrow at about that and about him starting off. I'm going to have a chat with him to see how he's doing and how the new season has kicked off for him. Craig, first podcast. How did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, dude. As I said, absolute honor to. I mean, I'm a massive fan of yours. I mean, you're certainly one of my role models in the sports journalism realm. So, yeah, it was an absolute privilege to have a chat with you and certainly sort of uncover what makes other sort of cricket fanatics tick. Oh, by the way, guys, I don't know if you've picked up, but apparently there's some content that Khalid wants you to go and read and watch and stuff. So yeah, if you haven't done so yet, give us a like, give us a follow on give us a like and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Subscribe to YouTube as well. Got some I mean the content that Khalid manages to pump out on such a regular basis is, you know, as a fledgling journalist myself, is truly inspiring. So yeah, go support the man. He's doing a great job in South African cricket.
So thanks a lot for the great kind words, Craig, and he's doing a great job in golf as well. So go support his podcast as well. Craig, you want to punt that quickly?
No, it's fine, dude. I'm not big into the whole shameless self-promotion. That's your department.
So guys, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's all good,
No,
dude. You
go ahead.
so if you guys are super desperate for golf content, go give us a follow on Instagram. Take us from 79 to 80 followers at freedrop_podcast and on Facebook at freedropblog. I'm sort of also doing my utmost to especially promote the women in South African golf through my segment Women Wednesdays. Maybe something Khalid will probably steal from me down the line. Maybe do a Women Wednesdays Cricket Fanatics podcast. But just any and all support is so welcome. Cool.
Okay. So thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. As you know, I'm going to do myself self-promoting over here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about guys, you need to download the latest issue of the magazine. We're going to bring out the next magazine on the first Monday of every new month. So that's next week, Monday. We're going to bring out our next issue. We're really excited about that. It's about Vision 2023 and about how we're going to look forward in the game of cricket and who's going to be the next big stars in South African cricket. Don't forget, obviously, to like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you can get all the notifications straight to your phone as soon as we upload videos and when we go live. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Cheers, guys.